News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. There's your closing bell for this Tuesday on Wall Street, where stocks continued to waver as traders assessed minutes of the Federal Reserve's December meeting. And we're going to get to all of that just ahead. But first, let's bring you those closing numbers. We do it for you each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 lost about 9.5 points. NASDAQ down 55. The Dow down 95 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.12%. The 2-year yield at 3.44%. And silver is now 5.5% higher, trading at more than $76 per ounce. Warner Brothers Discovery reportedly plans to once again reject a takeover bid from Paramount Skydance after the rival media company amended the terms of its offer. Bloomberg's Lucas Shaw says Paramount's strategy is aggressive.
They've appealed directly to shareholders. They've threatened lawsuits. So Warner Brothers has created a pretty substantive paper trail laying out many concerns to explain. And it gives Paramount kind of more to do. They don't understand why. I think Paramount's not just saying, we'll match, we'll kind of agree to everything Netflix has agreed to, and here's even more money. That seems to be where Warner Brothers is at right now.
Bloomberg's Lucas Shaw on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. Sources tell Bloomberg the Warner Brothers board has not made a final decision, but they'll meet next week. Among the board's concerns, Paramount has yet to increase its offer, which Warner Brothers earlier rejected as inferior to one from Netflix. Now to those Fed minutes, which left the markets mostly flat. Fed officials see additional interest rate cuts as appropriate if inflation declines over time as expected. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall.
Yeah, we did get further signaling from some participants on the committee who suggested that under their economic outlooks, it would likely be appropriate to keep the target range unchanged for, quote, some time. According to the minutes, quote, several participants pointed to the risk of higher inflation becoming entrenched.
The minutes point to divisions among U.S. central bankers and to the difficulty of their most recent decision. U.S. forces and partners killed or captured nearly 25 Islamic State operatives following large-scale airstrikes across Syria. Those strikes were in response to the killing of 2 U.S. soldiers and an interpreter in the country. At least 7 Islamic State members were killed. The rest were captured across 11 missions conducted from December 20th to the 29th. President Trump's campaign to end the war in Ukraine facing more complications now. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he would revise his country's negotiating position, claiming Ukrainian drones targeted his residence. Bloomberg's Greg Sullivan says there were already questions about whether progress was really being made on a peace plan.
Now, in some ways, this doesn't necessarily change much because up until now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has shown very little willingness to back off his already maximalist demands, including for territory that he wants Ukraine to cede that his forces have not been able to militarily control yet.
Bloomberg's Greg Sullivan. Ukraine President Zelensky says national security advisors will meet in Ukraine January 3rd, and more leaders-level talks will be held in France on January 6th. The Democrats may seem to be floundering as they head into the midterm elections, but Bloomberg opinion columnist Gautam Mukunda of Yale University sees a different trend.
The extent of the generational shift that's hitting the Democratic Party is profound. This is going to have long-lasting effects in American politics. You are seeing a new generation of Democrats who, the way they would put it, is they want to play the game the way the Republicans do, which means that they are not as interested in compromise. That shift is going to happen.
Bloomberg opinion columnist Gautam Mukunda speaking on Bloomberg Surveillance. Meta has agreed to buy Manus, a popular Singapore-based AI agent with Chinese roots. It's an effort to build a business around Meta's massive AI investment. Bloomberg Markets reporter Valerie Teitel.
Manus is essentially a Chinese tech company. It was hailed as the next DeepSeek. It's really interesting to see a U.S. tech company acquire a company with Chinese roots and whether that becomes a flashpoint in U.S.-China relations.
Bloomberg's Valerie Teitel. Meta shares about 1% higher. A derailed CSX train leaked a flammable chemical and sparked a fire in a rural part of southern Kentucky. Authorities briefly issued a shelter-in-place order that was later lifted for nearby residents. CSX said in a statement no injuries were reported after 31 rail cars derailed just after 6 this morning Central Time in Todd County, Kentucky. After a major disruption, Eurostar says it will start to resume services. Power problems and a stuck train interrupted rail traffic through the Channel Tunnel connecting the UK and continental Europe. The update on its website says overhead power issues remain, and officials are strongly urging passengers to postpone any trips on Eurostar. Environmental journalist Tatiana Schlossberg has died. She was the granddaughter of the late President John F. Kennedy, the daughter of Caroline Kennedy. She revealed she had terminal cancer in an essay published in The New Yorker just last month. Tatiana Schlossberg was 35 years old. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.